So I've had the Vivo X Fold for I would say just over about 3 weeks at this point, and I'm finally ready to kind of give you guys my impressions after almost a month. I know I've had it for a while, been super late with it, vacation coming up, and also just wanting to spend more time with this particular device because it is quite special, being as though it is a foldable and it is a China exclusive. So I wanted to really give it some time to really use it, really get a feel for it. So today, I'm finally ready to go ahead and talk about it and share my thoughts. So, with that being said, let's get into the video. This is Vivo X Fold 3 weeks later. All right, so kicking things off, you guys know how I do these videos. I always go pros and then we go cons. So I have three pros that I really want to dig into, and then I have only two cons that I kind of want to talk about. And the good news is both of them are, from a software perspective. So Vivo could definitely push out a software update and kind of take care of those. But either way, let's go ahead and get in right into it. Talking pros first, and first we're gonna talk hardware. Now, there's quite a few foldables that I still have yet to use. I haven't used anything from the Huawei line or anything like that. When it comes to foldables, I've only used this Vivo X Fold as well as Samsung's foldable, which I will kind of bring that, into view and kind of bring that into the videos here and there for context. But like I said, Vivo X Fold is the only one outside of Samsung that I've personally used. And when we're talking hardware, it's not even a debate. It's not even close. I would say pretty much everything, with certain things being kind of subjective, but pretty much every aspect of this device from a horror perspective is better than what we're being offered here in the States with the Z Fold 3. Things from the front screen just being overall wider. Now, if you do like that more narrow kind of aspect ratio, for better one-handed usage, things like that, there are those users out there. And I'm not gonna lie, sometimes I do prefer that to the wider aspect ratio of the Vivo. But like I said, I will say more times than not, give me the Vivo's wider screen over what Samsung's doing with the more narrow screen. Now, also when talking about hardware, this alert slider right here, I gotta go ahead and give some praise to that because there's not a ton of manufacturers doing it. I love being able to just with one click switch my phone from, sound and alerts and then another click to vibrate or silent. You can even customize what the volume slider actually does in terms of silent or vibrate. Whereas with like your iPhone, for example, you can't do that. I know on the OnePlus devices, I'm pretty sure you can do that as well, or they have three different clicks where this has two. But shout out to Vivo for adding this feature. I think more manufacturers need to go ahead and add that. It's honestly phenomenal. Like I can't think of any other words to describe it. Like it's just really good being able with one click mute and everything. Also, from a hardware standpoint, I got to talk about the camera situation. Now, I'm not going to get too deep into the camera just yet. We're going to save that a little bit later. But the hardware of the camera, right? You get three, you or not three. I'm sorry. You get four different focal lengths. So you have a ultra wide, your normal wide, you have a 2x optical, and then you have a 5x optical, which is the periscope lens. Now, I don't need to tell you guys, I've already done a ton when it comes to zoom in the past, why zoom is really important and why it's a great feature to have. Things like concerts, going to the zoo. When you go to the zoo, the animals are never right there smack dab in like the front of the glass. They're always far away from where everybody is. Having zoom kind of fixes that, right? So absolutely love the camera hardware. Build quality is phenomenal. I love the fact that there's next to no gap with this particular device. Actually, no, there is no gap when it comes to this device. So no gap whatsoever. I'll bring in the Fold 3. You can see that there is quite a bit of a gap. Let me move this the way, and you can see, you can even see through the gap there. Whereas on the Vivo, can't see, can't see through that at all. I like not having a gap mainly because if I have dirt or debris in my pocket or something like that, I don't have to worry about it kind of going through the gap and getting on the screen. The Vivo, you close it, it's 100% closed. No ifs, ands, or buts about it, right? Um, Also, from the hardware perspective, like I said, I have to talk about the fingerprint sensors. So, fingerprint sensors, you get two ultrasonic fingerprint sensors, one on the front here. Then, if we lock and open up, you got one on the inside here. Another thing that I absolutely loved is when you register that fingerprint sensor, whether you do it from the front screen or the inside screen, it literally, works for both. You don't have to register your fingerprint for each fingerprint sensor. It just knows for both. That was a super dope touch. Love the attention to detail there. So, like I said, from a hardware perspective, honestly, I have nothing negative to say. Vivo absolutely nailed it. In terms of the hardware for this device, it looks great. It feels heavy and well made. Vivo, keep up the good work and bring that alert slider to more of your smartphones as well. That goes for all manufacturers who don't currently have it. Next up, I want to go ahead and talk camera situation. So I went ahead and kind of gave you guys like a brief kind of synopsis on the cameras as far as what different focal lengths they allow. Now, I will say right up front, these aren't the same camera lenses in terms of, the sensors and all that as the X70 Pro Plus or the X80. It actually shares two of the cameras from the IQ9, and then the other two are kind of from, I want to say, other Vivo devices. So while it might not be their cream of the crop or their best or whatever, I never felt as though I was settling with this particular device. I'll flash some camera samples up on screen so you guys can see some of the pictures that I've taken. This thing takes phenomenal pictures. Like, there's no comparison in terms of a foldable device that I've used that can match this in terms of versatility. Now, I will admit, in terms of the output from the main sensor, I would say if I took the same picture on this and the Z Fold 3, I did it 10 times. I would prefer the Fold maybe 3 out of those 10 times, but more often than not, I did prefer what Vivo was doing in terms of their processing, their output, the skin tones, just on point. Vivo absolutely killed it in terms of the camera arrangement with this particular phone. Only thing I can say is, even if it does increase that price a bit with the next generation of, Vivo Fold or whatever they decide to call it, give us the same exact camera sensors and setup as what you're offering on, say, the X80 Pro or the X70 Pro Plus. Give us that same set of array. Vivo already shows that they're not worried about, thickness or weight when it comes to this particular device. So if we're already not worried about those limitations, just throw in the absolute best that, you can offer from that perspective. So that's the only knock I would say in terms of the camera set. Video video is definitely good, especially when you're looking at it from the main sensor. When you're looking at it from the main sensor, I think I do still prefer Samsung's video output to what Vivo is doing. But like I said, I just love having the versatility to be able to, like I said, take video from a bunch of different focal lengths. Now, when it comes to taking video, what I also will say is you can't switch lenses when you're even in, say, 4K 30. So most smartphones in 4K 30, you can switch between your different camera lenses, like your ultra wide, your wide, and whatever you have for telephoto. On the Vivo, you have to stop the recording. So I don't know if that's something that they can do in terms of, a software update, but that is another thing I would say I would love to see them update. Let me, punch in all the way, or, zoom out to the ultra wide, whatever the situation may be. Let me do that while I'm shooting video. And then the last pro that I want to talk about may seem a little bit weird for me when I'm talking about, say, a China exclusive phone, and that's notifications, right? So, notifications, like I said, it is definitely some on the pro and some on the con, right? So, let's start with the pros in terms of notifications. So, the thing that I've loved the most about notifications with this device is it stopped me from getting notifications from applications that I don't care if I get notifications from, right? Things like, say, the NBA application. I don't care to get notifications from it because either one, I'm already watching the game, or two, I already have some type of score widget or something pulled up. So I really like the aspect of, even though it is tedious, I'm setting up, notifications for apps that I specifically want notifications for. On your normal domestic phones, you get the option to turn off notifications. Obviously, you can go in and be tedious, but let's be 100% real. A lot of the times for a lot of these apps, we're just hitting allow or continue to move on or whatever. We're not really diving in deep and trying to set things up. With these China exclusive phones, you have to set up notifications, in a super tedious way. So with you having to go in and really set them up and really get things, set up to your liking, you're always going to be more cautious about what you're allowing to come through in terms of notifications, just because you don't want to have to set up a bunch of applications. I don't want to set up notifications for every app that I have on my phone, right? So when my phone does buzz, or when it does go off, or it does alert me, I know I'm getting a notification that I probably need to action right now at this very minute. So love that aspect about the notifications. But let's go ahead, switch gears, and we're going to talk cons of this particular device. And I'm literally going to start right where we left off with notifications. So while I do love the aspect of that, I'm not being pestered by apps that I don't really, care about or whatever. And obviously I'm being lazy with not turning those notifications off. But the thing is, it is extremely tedious in terms of what you have to do. So there's kind of three different areas that you need to target when you're looking at your notifications. So when you open up an application, and I don't have an app that I already haven't opened yet, but when you open up an app that wants to offer you notification access, the first thing you have to do is you're going to get that normal Android pop-up that says, this app wants to send you notifications. Do you want to allow? You go ahead and you hit, allow, or whatever the case may be. But once you do that, you actually have to go into your settings. You got to go into the battery area, and I'm not sure if this is the same for, say, I'm just gonna turn that brightness up just a little bit, but I'm not sure if it's the same for, every device, or whatever the case may be. Let me turn on dark mode. Might be a bit easier for you guys to see. But it's not gonna be the same, like I said, for every device. I know some of these devices, this battery kind of setting that you need to look at is pretty much the same. But like I said, your mileage may vary. So what you want to do is come down to this battery area, and there's an option here that says battery power consumption management. You're gonna click on that. It's gonna show you every application that you have on your device. Now, for the applications that you want to, receive kind of on time notifications for, or whatever, you're gonna want to come in, and let's just say Chrome, for example. You're gonna want to click on it, and you get two options. The first one is background power smart control. This, you're pretty much killing the application right as you close out of it, so you're not getting any notifications. So you're gonna want to hit high background power usage. This kind of stops the app from being aggressive, or stops the phone from being aggressive and closing pretty much everything. So that's the first step. The next step you're going to want to do is come into notifications and status bar. You got three options here: home screen badges, you have floating notifications, you got lock screen notifications. You're going to want to turn that on, turn each of these on for every application you want. So you got to really dig through here to see what you want. There's also some other options up here that you can kind of mess with. Now, the final step is you're actually going to go into app info, just, press and hold whatever, go to permissions, single permission settings, and then you want to come here, and I literally hit allow. I literally turn all of these options here on. Turn all of these options on, and from there, you should be good to go. Now, I did run into an issue with this particular device in terms of dark mode. I'm not going to turn dark mode off now, but in order to get notifications from Google Messages, I actually had to turn off dark mode. I had to only use light mode. I'm not sure what the situation is, why that's a thing. I don't know if it's a bug in Origin OS or whatever, but it's something that I found that I personally had to do. So if you're having issues with notifications, try to turn on light mode, see if that fixes it for you. Kind of stinks because you can't just run dark mode at all times, obviously. Maybe if you change your theme and then toggle dark mode, it'll work. Honestly, I haven't gotten around to really trying it. I got everything set up the exact way I want, so I've kind of left it alone for the most part. But like I said, that's kind of where I'll leave notifications. So definitely realize and understand what you're setting yourself up for. If you decide to purchase this device, you are going to have to dig through and be really tedious with your settings and all of that good stuff when it comes to notifications. And now the last and final con, I do have to bring in the Z Fold 3. So with the Z Fold 3, and if you know Samsung, you'll know and recognize they have honestly some of the best multitasking kind of array or suite of any smartphone. I love this taskbar style interface when it comes to, multitasking and things like that. Now, with Vivo, they do have something similar when you kind of long hold over. Now, this is the floating app and kind of split view kind of scenario. Now, when it comes to the Z Fold 3, any application on the phone that you download, you can force it to run as a floating window. On the Vivo, you cannot do that. It's only predetermined applications by Vivo. You can already see Google Messages isn't there, Chrome isn't there. So those applications just will not work when it comes to floating windows. That is a huge limitation for somebody like me, who I personally love to do a ton of multitasking, especially when you open up these devices and you get these huge, almost 8-inch screens. You want to be able to do, multiple things at any one given time. You don't want to kind of be locked in to only doing one thing blown up. Now, they both do offer split screen multitasking. So we'll bring up, y'all can see I was checking out my video game lore. So we'll bring up YouTube and we'll bring up Twitter, right? So side by side multitasking there. We'll go ahead and do the same here. We'll bring up YouTube. I love this gesture. 3-finger swipe up to enable split screen multitasking. I do love that gesture. Love it, love it. It's on point. All right. So got the same exact scenario set up on both of these. We have, oh, I kind of messed that up. We have YouTube on the left, Twitter on the right. Now, looking at it from this setting, obviously most people are going to prefer the Vivo because it's a bigger screen. You got more area, being shown on the device or whatever the case may be. So absolutely do love it in that regard. Now, the one thing you will notice, and I'll turn the volume down on both of these just to make sure, like I said, we're not getting any copyright strikes or anything like that. We'll literally go and play the Sam Mobile video. Shout out to those guys over there, especially the homie Ben. Always kills it when it comes to the Samsung content for Sam Mobile. So you can see here, this isn't desirable when it comes to doing split screen multitasking. Now, what you really want is to do this. Can't do that on the Vivo. You don't have an option. It can't do top and bottom multitasking. Why? I have no idea. Now, and you can tell me if I'm 100% off base. I'm pretty sure most people will prefer to rock YouTube at the top on that wider aspect ratio and have Twitter on the bottom. So like I said, you can kind of scroll. You're getting more here from a width perspective. Things aren't getting cut off or anything like that. And you can, like I said, see more of your video without the ton of wasted space here, top and bottom. Now, even if I wanted to say rotate this device, let me turn off that and we'll rotate it. Now, even if I rotate it, right? Just to kind of play devil's advocate, even if I rotate this, I'm still getting way more in terms of my video here on the Fold. Whereas with the Vivo, I'm not. Well, you might say, well, let's make YouTube a little bit smaller to make, or let's make Twitter a little bit smaller to make this a little bit bigger. You can't. It literally snaps right back to an exact split down the middle. Kind of reminiscent to how some applications work on iPad OS when it comes to split screen. Now, like I said, Vivo could 100% take care of this in software. So I'm literally waiting on that software update to come. But this, in my opinion, is just a huge missed opportunity when you have a device that is literally this big. A device this big, I should be able to do all types of multitasking on it. There's no reason that I shouldn't be able to do top and bottom or any application in a floating window. It kind of just goes to show that while, other manufacturers have caught up and exceeded what Samsung is doing on the hardware front, when it comes to software, Samsung has been just doing it longer. So it's just a bit more polished. And on top of being a bit more polished, you just get more features. I didn't even touch on things like good lock or anything like that because, again, this is a video mainly about the Vivo X Fold. But I just want to call out a few of those areas where I feel like Vivo still needs to do quite a bit of polish. Now, the software experience isn't terrible. I do love how fluid and how responsive all your animations are and things like that. That's an area where Samsung needs to do better. But in terms of just the functionality, just in terms of the feature set, I want my foldable device to do more. I just want it to do more. I don't want it to just be a blown up, phone implementation or anything like that. So Vivo, like I said, you definitely got your work cut out for you. But as I said at the top of the video, everything that I said negative about this device can be fixed with a software update. And I'm telling you, if Vivo does software updates to put this device in line from a software perspective where the Z Fold 3 is, Samsung needs to be worried. Samsung needs to be worried. 110%. Because from a hardware perspective, Samsung isn't touching this. And from what we've seen on the Z Fold 4 rumors, they're not going to be touching this at least until next year, right? So with Vivo killing it on the hardware front, we just need to see them give it a little bit more polish on the software side. And I think the X Fold will truly be the smartphone foldable king for this year. So definitely can't wait to see what Vivo does in terms of software updates. It's going to be awesome. But with that being said, guys, we're going to go ahead and get out of here. Thanks so much for watching as always. This is Ike's Tech Talk. I will catch you all in the next video. Peace.